Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very unique chess event, a chess event that has never been featured before on the Gotham Chess YouTube channel. And this chess event is one where I am playing in. I've been talking about this event for the last few weeks, so if you know what I'm talking about, great. If you don't, it is the Battle of Generations, or it's PIA versus Gotham, aka Grandmaster Pia Cramling, legendary chess player, 61 years young, mother of Anna Cramling, big content creator, chess player as well. And she's playing against me, who you know. The format of the match is 4 days of classical chess. Each of the games, we play 1 game a day, is worth 3 points. Then we have a day where we play 6 rapid games. Those are each worth 2 points. And then on the last day, we play 12 games of blitz. And those games are worth 1 point. So every segment is worth 12 points. There's 36 points total. Today is classical number 1. Also, shout out to everybody sponsoring this. We've got 3 sponsors, which is very exciting, which means we have a prize fund. We sold out of the fan event in Stockholm. So shout out to everybody who I'm going to see on November 3rd. That's going to be very fun. And yeah, I'm also doing a bunch of behind the scenes on my Snapchat, which is just Gotham Chess. You'll find me. I'm the verified Gotham Chess account. So for game number 1, I got the white pieces. And before this game, I was doing some preparation. Obviously, I know my opponent quite well at this point. And I didn't exactly know what she was going to play, but I decided that I would play d4. And the other thing I decided is that I was going to play the London. The reason is that Pia is very solid, and I would know right away against d4 what she's going to play. If she doesn't play knight f6, meaning, if she plays knight f6, she's not afraid of my Trumpowski and my, just the London with bishop f4. And if she plays d5, she's obviously down to play some Queen's Gambit declined, which she plays basically all the time with white. She's a very solid player, very good player, very positional player, very experienced. She's been a grandmaster longer than I've been alive. So she played d5, right? And right away I got some information. Because what this tells me is she's probably going to play Queen's Gambit declined. So now I have stuff to work with during the rest of the match. I played the London because this is what I prepared. And I kind of needed to, stick up for the London because I recently made a viral Instagram meme. It went so viral, it got like 55 million views. It's basically a baby getting hit in the head when it's tiny. And then 18 years later, the baby is playing the London. Like A-list celebrities have like that Instagram reel. It's so ridiculous. And so, she played c5. And I was like, I got to defend the honor of the London. So I played e3, knight c6, c3, knight f6. I saw that she had some London games, and in those London games, what she liked to do is she liked to play cd4, ed4, and then play the light square bishop out. And that's what she did in this game. She thought for a while here. I don't know what she was considering. Maybe she wanted to play queen b6, which is a move. But here, this is like a super mainline London. But then she did something strange. She turned it into a Carlsbad, which I completely expected. And, bishop f5 here is the move, but she goes g6. And I found that really funny because I was like, this is the Caro Kann now. So this can arise from a Caro Kann in the following move order: e4, c6, and I put black on the bottom because normally this is the position that I'm playing. Takes, bishop d3, and my mouse is like a $5 mouse that I bought here in Sweden, actually in Copenhagen. So sorry, it's very loud. I didn't realize how loud it was. And basically, like, after bishop f4, black plays g6, and white goes knight d2. And basically, this is the position that we got in the game. So I was like, oh, she played, she played g6. Like, and I don't know how much of my opening she studied, but I was like, oh, this is kind of funny. Like, we're in a Caro Kann now. So I went bishop d3. I thought there's not much to think about here. Here I thought about knight f3. The only reason I didn't go immediately with my knight to f3 is because I thought there are some positions she can try to trap my bishop. So I thought for, like, a little bit too long here, and I played h3. Then I played knight f3, and she went knight d7. And the idea of knight d7 is she simply wants to accomplish the move e5, or else I dominate that square with my pieces. I'll castle, I'll play rook e1. But so far so good. I mean, this is basically what I wanted from the opening. I mean, I figured like she will have to imbalance the game a little bit. And so she went knight d7, I castled, and she played e5, right? And so now I'm going to take the pawn with my pawn, which is what I did. Otherwise, she takes my bishop or she forks me. And this leaves black with an isolated pawn. The person who has the isolated pawn wants to minimize the piece trades and wants to push the pawn forward, oftentimes to trade it off. In this case, this bishop is a very big support for her pawn. So naturally, I mean, I spent 4 minutes only. I mean, I looked at like playing bishop back to c2, for example, but I didn't understand what I was doing after, for example, knight takes f3, knight takes f3, and she can just play this move d4. And as you can see from the computer, it's completely equal. Now, you could argue it's game one. You might as well make a draw like quickly, but I'm not this kind of chess player. Like, I'm sorry, even, you know, I'm coming off a bad tournament, right? I don't exactly know what type of form I'm in. So it's like, just trade all the pieces and make a draw. I was like, that's not really me. You know, I can't do that. So, you know, so instead of that, instead of just retreating, what I did is I did what I thought was best, which is taking the knight, because again, now she is not really preparing the d-pawn push because the knight has moved. And I thought I'm going to play a very creative move here, which is knight f3, giving up my light-scored bishop completely. But if she takes my light-scored bishop, what ends up happening is that I am playing against a very weak isolated pawn. The person with the isolated pawn wants to keep pieces on the board and push the pawn forward. Black can't do either of those things, and we've traded a bunch of pieces already. You might look at this and say, what about bishop f5? I calculated the position after queen b5 is just better for me. It's actually even better for me if I don't do that, if I just chill. I don't have to rush. I can play rook d1, and I'm just better here because the pawn is so weak. So, you know, I looked at this, and I thought, a little too long here. 12 minutes for knight f3 is really not, you know, what I should be doing. I also calculated taking with this bishop and then playing knight f3. And after she goes like bishop g7, I thought maybe queen d2, bishop c2, you know, bishop b3, put some pressure here, put my rook on d1. It's actually a very interesting positional game, but I thought it made more sense to give up my my light-scored bishop. The computer here thinks that this is not a great move. But what's funny is that she went back to c6 after spending some time, and this to me felt slow, right? Because she just went knight d7, then she took on e5, then she took on e5, and then she's going back to c6. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. That knight also made multiple moves. I'm thinking like, she wants to go d4. But when she goes d4, I'm going to go c4. I also thought about bishop b5. Maybe she considered bishop b5. The point is very simple. If she plays d4, I take her knight, then I take the pawn. When I played queen d2, you know, the whole point is I'm trying to, I don't know what's going on with this mouse, but that's why it was, you know, however, 30 Danish krona, or, you know, whatever I paid for this absolute nonsense of a mouse. Actually, it's Denmark. I probably paid like 5 times that price because it's so expensive. Anyway, when I played queen d2, she looked at me like a bit confused. But we spoke after the game. It was on the live broadcast. She actually just didn't expect this move. It's actually a good move. It's not a bad move. I thought it was a good move. My original intention here was to play rook e1 in 2 seconds. Because it just improves my position. But after d4, you know, my plan of c4, might not, I mean, she could go knight here, maybe, I don't know. So I wanted to go rook e1 basically immediately, and then I spent 12 minutes, and there's nothing really wrong with queen d2, but I could have played, again, there are moments in these games where, like, I want to play a move in 2 seconds, and then I just sit there and go, wait a minute. And then I do. I wait 12 minutes. There was no difference. And, like, you ask the computer, rook e1 is actually slightly better, and there's really nothing to worry about. Like, if she plays here, and, like, knight b4, I mean, I can even move the bishop. The only reason I didn't move the bishop is I thought she can push, but even bishop e5 is a perfectly reasonable move, trading off her dark-squared bishop, weakening her king, and destabilizing her pawn. So, again, just a bit too slow. It's like my biggest problem in classical chess is this overthinking. She goes d4, c4, she plays a5. She played pretty quickly here, and here I finally played rook e1. Again, 6 minutes. I have multiple choices, but I went here, and I thought I have a better position. As you can see, I do. I do have a better position. I mean, I'm winning this battle of the opening transitioning to the middle game. Also, what we do every day, and by the way, it's 3 p.m. local time here in Sweden for the first 3 days, and the last 3 days are at 2 p.m. Time here. So I think right now Europe and New York are 5 hours apart instead of 6. So subtract 5 hours, starts at 10 a.m. Eastern, and then it starts at 9. And then India, I don't know. It's already too many time zones. Maybe 3.5 hours more, 4.5 hours more. Anyway, around here, I went to the confessional booth and I was thinking, like, where does PIA go? Because my plan is very simple. I want to play rook d1. Maybe I want to play b3. Maybe I want to play bishop e4. Maybe I want to trade this bishop so that there's no protection of the center. And I thought, like, I'm better. I just have a really nice position. And, it boosted my confidence even more when she played bishop e6 in 17 minutes. Like, when the opponent is thinking that long, they don't like what's happening. And the plan was, if she brings the bishop out there, I'm going to hunt down the bishop with knight g5. I played this move without even, breaking a sweat. But I didn't really know what else she can do here. She could play bishop d7. And this is kind of the problem with this bishop in this pawn structure, is like, where do you move the bishop? So she went here, right? I attacked it, and here. And here is where the momentum shifted, because it looks like I have the momentum. I have a +1 advantage, right? So right away, I'm thinking, okay, if I could play a move here in 2 seconds, it would be rook d1, because it's the last piece to move. In the future, I will move my bishop and I'll put pressure, a lot of pressure with my rook and the queen on this pawn. Life is good. I play rook d1 in 2 seconds. I spent 24 minutes on this move. I played rook d1. But what I was calculating was bishop d6. This move looks like it simply wins the game, because the rook has to go here. This is destabilized, and now c5. And I have a monster threat. And the threat is not bishop c4. The threat is knight takes f7, just getting straight in there. And black is butchered here on the diagonals. Rook e6, I could play anything probably, but something like queen d3, and I saw all of this. Of course, it's very natural. Like, you just keep attacking and you have a totally winning position. The problem with bishop d6, rook e8, c5 is she gets in the way. And so I have to calculate all of this in advance. And what's funny is that in this position, I was looking at bishop takes e5, but after bishop e5, rook e5, rook e5, bishop e5, bishop c4, she just goes here, and I couldn't crack this position. And as you can see, I can't. It's equal. So I had to see all of this. I had to see that whole sequence of moves and then go, why does this not work? Like, why does and I calculated rook e1, and I mean, I'm better except for this move, which defends the pawn, hits the pawn, defends the bishop, defends f7. And what's crazy is that after knight e5, I can actually sack my rook, which is completely demented. But and the point is that after bishop e5, I go bishop c4 anyway, and it's really hard to protect this pawn. But she can play rook e5, and here the computer says I can sack anyway, which I did not see. Okay, here I thought she simply plays rook f5, but I have bishop c4, bishop e6. I'm down a rook here, but I have queen e4, king f7, and at the end of the sequence, I have g4 and the rook is trapped, because if the rook goes here, I have h4 trapping the rook, and I'm better. That's literally a 20-move calculation. I stopped at like rook f5. I was just like, I'm down a piece. I don't know what I'm doing. But I have bishop c4, bishop e6, takes, queen e5. I mean, like, maybe Fabiano Caruana, one of the greatest calculators in the world, can, go through this sequence. So, when I realized that this didn't work, I started thinking, okay, should I just play rook d1, in 2 seconds? Because, of course, I should just improve my position. You don't know what to do, improve your position. And I also considered, what if I don't play bishop d6? What if I just play c5? Like, again, I have this idea, c5, bishop c4. And I thought c5 is silly. I should bring a rook. Like, I thought c5, maybe something like this. But this position is just really nice for me. And I just didn't appreciate how good this position could get if I just started with c5. The move itself made sense, but I only really seriously considered it with also the inclusion of the bishop move, and I played rook d1. Now, this is given a question mark, although the advantage goes from 1.0 to 0.8, so, that's stupid. The real issue is, look at my time. All the momentum here was with me. If I played rook d1 in, again, 30 seconds, totally bluffing. I mean, I don't know if bishop d6 or c5 are better. Pia would have probably spent another 5 to 7 minutes, and it's a very difficult position. Instead, I played rook d1, and she went rook e8, you know, and now I'm like, okay, my first instinct says maybe trade, because if I trade, she's got to kind of dislodge her position a little bit, like maybe bishop e8. Here I thought, like, why don't I just, like, take the file? And I can just stop calculating here. I just have an active rook, but I'm already, like, feeling like I'm like, why did I go knight g5, right? Like, okay, maybe I'm going to rotate to e4, but so I'm like, I don't know. And then I was thinking, like, you know, what about bishop e4, bishop d5? Also possible, by the way. Bishop e4 is a perfectly reasonable move, with the idea to just put the bishop there. I don't really know why I didn't go here. I don't know if I calculated something here that I saw, but yeah, I really wanted to play bishop e4. Instead, now I went c5. So I combined rook d1 with c5. The issue is now she gains time. And the last couple of moves have sort of taken the momentum in her favor, because now all of a sudden her bishop is going to come here. This diagonal is open. I'm not going to get my bishop. Like, my original intention here was to play bishop e5, just to take, rook e5, rook e5, bishop e5. Again, I thought about bishop c4, but I didn't see a way through. Again, I thought in this position to play for knight f3, and the logic is that my rook is now here. So, and this is everything I calculated, but after here, knight d4, she just goes queen c7, and it's kind of ridiculous. I'm up a pawn, but I can't defend this pawn. If knight b3, she just plays a4, which is really bad for me, and I have no way to protect this. So everything I was calculating, bishop e5, take everything, bishop to c4, she has to go there, replacing the rook, which moved. f7 is now protected. My knight comes... By the way, one of the reasons I moved my rook to d1, like, in my mind, I wasn't doing anything stupid. When everything opens up, when we play bishop e5, rook e5, rook e5, bishop e5, when everything opens up, this pawn now has another attacker. So actually, my logic made sense. It just doesn't work. Black is completely fine. When we got here and I realized black is completely fine, rather than trading the pieces and just, you know, being in some sort of equal position, I decided to go here, which is still not a bad move, but, like, I don't know what these three moves have to do together. The final piece of the puzzle here is that maybe I can bring the knight to e4 and support this move by putting the knight on d6. This was the last kind of piece of the puzzle that I was trying to solve. And then in this position, actually, I think in this position, the lights went out in the playing hall. That was pretty cool. So, you know, but, you know, bishop e4, they're trying to just, I'm on home turf, you know, they gotta, you know, it's like when you fight in the fighter's country, you know, like mixed martial arts, you know, the local judges have to give it to them. No, I'm just kidding. But the lights did go off. That was pretty wild. And for like 30 seconds. And yeah, here I'm like, I made this move. I'm thinking this is not, this was a bad series of moves that I just played. And I know I lost my advantage. Now, Pia went h6, which I don't think was the best approach, but then my response was also bad. My plan here was that, you know, I would take, and the reason I didn't go for this is because I thought she goes here, and if I play knight e4, she just plays queen d5, and I was like, this looks really bad for me. It's not. It's equal, but I felt really bad allowing the queen to be there for black. I mean, the queen, like, look at black's position. I mean, look at how passive black is. Knight. Suddenly, black's pieces just completely come alive. And I was like, man, like, how did this happen? Like, how's her queen getting out? It wasn't supposed to be like this. So I'm like, okay, let's trade into the endgame. Let's just trade into the endgame. We're going to trade. We're going to come back. She actually surprised me by trading everything. I thought she would trade the light square bishop but keep the rook. Like, if she takes my bishop with her bishop, she's attacking my queen, then she can move the rook. But she traded everything and just went here. And this was kind of the final moment where I could have stabilized. But she had been surprising me with so many moves. I almost feel like a little bit, I was like, am I dumb? Queen c7 is a nice idea. She basically is just giving this pawn away but it's going to open up her bishop. My original intention was don't take the pawn, and instead defend this pawn. I calculated knight d4 here, and after rook d8, I have a very nice move, rook d2, where I can trade some pieces. But I should have went with my first instinct, which was rook c1. Just don't let her have this pawn. And then I was a little worried about this. I thought about queen d3, but this felt really passive. And the best move here is knight e1. And the point of knight e1 is very simple. This pawn can't push. It's actually the best move to give away the pawn. If black plays like here, white goes here, and the bishop is passive and the knight is strong. And actually, white is better in this endgame. And if I was a player with a little bit more class, a little bit more experience, I would have played this move in a heartbeat. I just did not really see knight e1, knight d3. I mean, I saw rook c1. I didn't truly appreciate the power of this knight e1 idea. It's not even it's not like better for white. It's just kind of the point. This, though, just gives black too much activity. And when she took this pretty quickly, I think this was sort of the nail in the coffin to my focus. Because when I arrived in this position, my original plan had been knight f3 and b3 on the next move, and this is hanging, and then I realized queen b4 is a problem because it's a fork, and if I take, I just lose. I mean, I'm just going to lose these pawns. Now, the computer is finding different ways to defend this position, but yeah, and knight c2 is actually the best move. And knight c2 stops queen b4. But somehow I just couldn't play this move, which is kind of wild. Like, if rook b8, I just played b3. I mean, knight c2 is actually very findable. But I remember a very clear moment here when I realized knight f3 doesn't work. I just thought, oh, I'm in trouble. But, like, this was not hard. I could have found this move. The whole idea is to go queen b4. So I went here. And then she went queen b4 anyway. And I was like, oh, man, what am I doing? And here I could have maybe played queen d5. And, yeah, it totally went off the rails in the 20s. Like, from move 20 to 28. And now rook d7 is a mistake. But the point is that now, yeah, bishop f8 is a very nice move. And she's just this pawn up. What's funny is that I defended this position for like 30 more moves. Practically speaking, it's just lost. But it was kind of fun to defend it. She tried to checkmate me. She's trying to push her pawn. Here she allowed me to get some counterplay, but I really just couldn't. I couldn't lock in here. I mean, I should have maybe played for g3. This was a horrendous move, trying to bring my knight to, like, she just goes here. I really have no idea what my plan was. I mean, I played it with 9 seconds on the clock. Again, here I should start making improvements and get my pawns away from the rook. I didn't do that. She played very well here, bishop c5. I have to give this pawn away because there's really like no way to defend my king. If I push my f-pawn, she's just going to take. And even here, it was a little tricky, I thought. She was giving me some chances. I thought when I played knight c1, it was actually a draw. Like, I thought I'm winning the pawn. And in a cruel turn of events, not only am I winning the pawn, I can't take it. If I play knight b2, I'm paralyzed, and I can't move either of my pieces, which is nuts. I don't have distance. Normally you go here or here, and you move the knight, and then you want to move your rook to a square the knight can move to, and then defend your rook, and I can't do that. Like rook b7, bishop c5, black wins. So I was like, oh, that's crazy. And it was a little bit fun at the end. Like, I almost trapped her rook. Almost. So she has to move, and if you play like here in rook b3, it's getting a lot closer to a draw. But she defended very well. She played bishop g1, hunted my king out of the corner. Very nice move. She gave up the pawn to force my king to go forward, which, like, when I actually played here, I thought, oh, I'm saving the game, but she found this move. Somewhere around here, she made a move with 1 second on the clock. That was kind of crazy. Right here, she played a move, and she had 31 seconds, which means she gained 30 seconds on 1 second. So, yeah, I mean, I was actually thinking, like, if I beat P on time in this endgame, I kind of want the game to count as a draw. Like, I don't even feel fair. But, yeah, and I mean, this was a big scramble, but she's always winning. She gets me here, and I can't move any pieces. I thought maybe I have a chance, maybe, but no, she did a nice maneuver here where she goes over here, and my king can't cross. So she's completely boxed out my king, so she checks my king, and now I just lose because she's going to take my knight, and then she has a fork. So game 1 goes to Pia. This game was decided right around here, when I spent more than half of my time on a relatively straightforward move. I can't be upset with the opening. I was better from the opening, and I was putting some pressure. But yeah, moves, you know, like moments like here, from like move, oh, it wasn't even 20. It was like 17 to 27. That's the middle game, right? Like that's the middle game. That's the late stage middle game. That's where players are made, like my opponent, who's been a boss her whole life, and players like me, who are trying to get better, struggling to get better, you know. But like, yeah, if you're a good player, you play, and you're in form, you have class. You play Rook D1 pretty quickly. You don't stress too much about like where these pieces go. You maybe understand how powerful C5 is, but you don't spend 25 minutes and then mix a few plans together, and suddenly you have 5 minutes and you lost your entire advantage. And it's kind of interesting how that works. I'm a little bit annoyed with myself, but I have 6 days to go, 5 days, so I can't be too annoyed. Tomorrow I have to play with black, so I'm trying to get on the board. You know what I'm saying? Like, my biggest struggle in this match was going to be the classical. Rapid and blitz, I feel a lot better because I don't have 25 minutes to overthink things. I'm going to try to trust my gut a little bit more. I'm going to try to calculate a little bit more. So that's that. Shout out to Surfshark, shout out to Take, shout out to Blitzfuel. I'll put probably their links in the description. They're sponsoring the match. And thank you, you know, to Anna and Alex for their commentary, and for this, you know, to all the Swedes who are helping this behind the scenes. Svartahasten, that's like not how you say the name of the place, but very nice chess bar here in Sweden. So 5 more games to go. Can't give up yet. See you tomorrow. Follow me on Snapchat, though, for real. Got like crazy behind the scenes here. So get out of here.